What if the greatest threat to your soul isn't a sudden, catastrophic tragedy, but a quiet, comfortable routine you consent to every single day? The ancient Stoics understood a terrifying truth about human nature. We do not lose our minds or our freedom in one dramatic battle. We surrender them, inch by inch, in the very place we are supposed to feel safest. By the end of our time together today, you will discover the single, silent pattern that destroys more men than infidelity or financial ruin, and how a subtle shift in your daily choices can instantly reclaim your inner power. Imagine walking up to your own front door at the end of a long, exhausting day. Your hand hovers over the cold brass of the doorknob. Instead of feeling a sense of relief, a subtle, familiar tightness forms in your chest. Your mind instantly starts calculating. What mood will she be in? Did I say the wrong thing earlier? What unspoken rule am I about to break? This is the reality for countless men who believe they are simply doing what it takes to keep the peace. But there is a profound difference between a peaceful home and a temporary truce bought with your self-respect. The first hidden trap is the slow, agonizing tax of constant emotional stress. Most men are prepared for the loud battles. They know how to react to a sudden crisis, a betrayal, or an explosive argument. What they are completely unprepared for is the quiet erosion. It is the steady drip of criticism that sounds like helpful advice, but feels like judgment. It is the feeling of constantly walking on eggshells, where your reality is defined by another person's emotional weather. Research suggests that chronic, low-level emotional tension within a close relationship does more damage to the human nervous system than occasional, high-intensity conflicts. Your mind and body were never designed to exist in a permanent state of high alert. When home ceases to be a sanctuary and instead becomes a proving ground where you must constantly earn your right to be accepted, your health quietly begins to deteriorate. Yet, many men look at this constant exhaustion and call it commitment. They tell themselves that this is just what long-term love looks like. But let me ask you this directly. When did you begin to believe that love required you to live with a perpetual knot in your stomach? This leads us to a second, even more deceptive trap, one that is frequently disguised as masculinity itself, the fortress of silence. From the time we are young, we are conditioned to believe that a strong man is a silent man. We are taught to absorb the blow, carry the weight, and never let the mask slip. So, when something cuts deep, a man swallows it. He tells himself it is not worth the fight. When he feels unappreciated, he simply works harder. When his boundaries are crossed, he looks the other way to avoid a scene. This is not strength. It is emotional capitulation. Stoicism is often misunderstood as the suppression of emotion, but Marcus Aurelius never advocated for turning oneself into a lifeless stone. Real strength is the ability to look at pain, understand it, and speak your truth with calm, unshakable dignity. When you bury your emotions, you do not destroy them. You merely bury them alive. They sit in the dark, mutating into resentment, cynicism, and physical fatigue. Eventually, the pressure becomes too great. The man who was once warm and present becomes a stranger to his family, cold and detached, or explodes over a minor inconvenience. The weight you thought you were carrying to protect the relationship is the very thing that is crushing it. Consider this deeply. Have you ever caught yourself retreating into silence, convincing yourself you are being patient, when in reality you are just afraid of the conflict that truth might bring? If you continue down this path, you eventually encounter the third pattern, a tragedy of self-abandonment. This is the phenomenon of the fading man. Picture a man who, years ago, had clear passions. He had close friends who kept him grounded. He had hobbies that challenged him, goals that kept him up late, and a distinct presence. Now look at him today. He has slowly traded away every single piece of his individuality to keep his partner happy. He stopped seeing his friends because it made her uneasy. He abandoned his pursuits because they took time away from her. At first, he told himself he was being a good partner. He called it compromise. But there is a line where compromise ends and identity theft begins. When a man abandons his purpose, he loses the very gravity that made him compelling in the first place. His confidence evaporates. His decisions are no longer guided by a deep internal compass, but by a desperate search for validation. He stops leading his life and starts asking for permission to live it. True attraction is not built on total submission. A healthy relationship requires two complete individuals, distinct and sovereign, who choose to walk the same path. If you must erase who you are to keep someone else close, the person they love is no longer you anyway. It is merely a shadow you have created to please them. This loss of identity doesn't just affect your waking hours. It follows you into the dark. This brings us to the fourth pattern, the midnight battlefield. Every night, millions of men lie awake staring at the ceiling. The house is completely quiet, but inside their minds, a storm is raging. They replay conversations from 3 days ago. They worry about the future. They wonder if they are enough, if they are doing enough, or if the person sleeping next to them is slowly slipping away. They are physically exhausted, yet sleep remains completely out of reach. They attribute this to work stress or age. But the truth is much simpler. Their minds are fighting battles they cannot win in the middle of the night. When you allow relationship anxiety to steal your rest, you are sacrificing your primary source of clarity and resilience. A sleep-deprived mind is inherently fragile. It amplifies threats, distorts reality, and turns minor disagreements into existential crises. Are you listening to this right now in the dark, struggling to quiet your mind because of a relationship that was supposed to bring you peace? Protecting your sleep is not a luxury. It is a fundamental act of self-preservation. Stoic wisdom teaches us to recognize what is within our control and what is not. At 2 a.m, nothing is within your control. The conversations can wait. The problems can wait. Your sovereignty over your own mind must be reclaimed before you can hope to solve anything else. And now, we arrive at the most dangerous pattern of all, the silent foundation of all relationship decay, the quiet death of respect. We often assume that relationships end because of a singular, dramatic betrayal. But the truth is, betrayal is rarely the beginning. It is almost always the final symptom of a collapse that began when respect was allowed to slip away. Respect does not vanish overnight. It is stolen in microtransactions. It is the subtle eye roll when you share an ambition. It is the casual interruption when you are speaking. It is the habit of criticizing you in front of others under the guise of humor. When a man notices this happening, his instinct is often to try harder. He seeks approval. He buys gifts, does more chores, and tries to anticipate every need, hoping that if he can just prove his value, the respect will return. But respect is not a currency you can earn by begging. The more you tolerate disrespect in a desperate attempt to keep someone's affection, the less they will respect you. It is a psychological law of human nature. Love and respect are inseparable. You cannot truly love someone you do not respect, and you cannot have a healthy relationship with someone who views you as beneath them. The Roman philosopher Seneca once wrote that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. When you spend your precious time and energy trying to convince someone of your worth, you are wasting your life. You are giving away your most valuable asset to someone who does not see its value. If you look closely at these 5 patterns, you will realize they all share a single common thread. They do not happen because women are inherently difficult or because modern relationships are doomed. They happen because we, as men, forget how to hold our own boundaries. We forget that our peace, our purpose, and our self-respect are not bargaining chips to be traded for temporary comfort. The philosopher Epictetus famously taught that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You cannot control another person's actions, their moods, or their appreciation of you. But you have absolute control over what you tolerate. You have absolute control over whether you stay true to your values or sacrifice them to avoid an argument. Recognizing these patterns in your own life is not a sign of failure. It is the necessary first step toward awakening. The moment you see the trap is the moment you can choose to step out of it. Now, look back at your own life. Which of these 5 patterns has been quietly draining your energy? Is it the constant tension, the silent suppression, the loss of your own identity, the sleepless nights, or have you allowed your boundaries to become so weak that respect has slipped away? If this message has given voice to something you have been feeling but could never quite explain, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know how you plan to reclaim your peace today. If you found value in this reflection, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like, and sharing this with a brother, a father, or a friend who might be fighting these silent battles alone. Never forget, your identity is not the price of admission for someone else's love. Take care of your mind, stand firm in your values, and continue building a life of peace and sovereign strength.